Hello and welcome back to Fundamental STEM, and welcome to the second last video in this series of how to draw shapes using Scratch. This one is going to be called Variable Shape Selector, and it's going to be a program where we've done hexagons and octagons and so on, but we've had to put the degrees in. For this one I'm going to show you how you can use variables and sliders so that Scratch will actually draw the shapes that you want. So let's get stuck in. Let's get rid of this cat and do what we do in every video so far and get our pencil. So the pencil, here we go, there's our pencil. Let's get into the costume, get rid of costume 2, let's pull a box over the pencil and stick the tip of the pencil onto the crosshairs, then head over and grab our backdrop. Okay, our backdrop is in here, we're looking for the wall. Okay, there's our wall. Let's click back onto our sprite and into code. Now, for this one, I'm going to set up a couple of variables first, okay? Because I want to be able to just pull these and drop them in where we need them. So let's head into variables first. Okay, click onto variables. And I'm not sure if I've used this for you guys. Actually, there was one of the videos, the President Trump chasing after his oranges game. I had to use variables in there to keep track of lives and to keep track of the score and so on. So this is kind of one of the things that variables can do. They're very good at counting and keeping track of numbers. So for this one I need to make a variable, and the first variable is going to be sides. Okay, S-I-D-E-S. Okay, and click OK on that. And then I'm going to make a second variable, and this variable is going to be called length. L-E-N-G-T-H. Okay, length. So the two variables are made, and I'll come back to that in a moment when we come to using them. So the start of this code is going to, like any other, start with a when the green flag is clicked. And I'll zoom in on that just to make it a bit bigger. And then we have a series of pen blocks. So we need to get our pen blocks from the extensions, head into our pen, and there's our pen blocks. So let's start with lifting up the pen and then erasing any previous work that we've done before. Then we'll set our pen size. Okay, so we'll set our pen size to 5. And our pen color, I'm going to do something a bit different here. So it's going to be set pen color. Yeah, set the pen color. You can add that on. But inside the number here, I'm going to put in an operator so that it changes each time round. So I'm going to put that in there. And I'm going to let it pick between 10 and 100. Okay, so it's going to pick a color somewhere between 10 and 100. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to point in the direction of 90 degrees. So that's in our motions. Point it in the direction of 90 degrees. And I need a starting position, a place to start from. So I'm going to pull out an XY. And in the X I'm going to put in -50, and in the Y block I'm going to put in 160. Okay, so we're almost ready to draw now. We have our pen set up and we have our position where we're starting from. So now we need to get back into our pen and put the pen down because we're ready to draw. In here though, we're going to have a variable inside repeat loops. So we need a repeat block, and the repeat is going to change. Okay, the repeat's not going to be the same. So previously if we did an 8-sided shape, we just stick the number 8 in there. Okay, and that would be the number of sides. But this time it's going to be changeable because we're going to be able to change up in here. I'll explain this in a moment. So what we need to put in there is click onto our variable, and we can see this block here says sides. We can pull that block out, stick that in where 10 is. Okay, now we need another repeat block. Okay, so let's click back into controls and pull out a repeat block. Now again, I'll put it over here, and this is going to be the same as what I previously used to do, where I'd have 10 by 10 and it would be the length of a side. Okay, but in this one I'm going to have another variable in there. I'm going to leave that as 10, but it's going to change in the motion block. So in the motion block, you pull that out, and inside the motion block we're going to put a divider from the operators. So a divided by. Okay, so stick that in there, and I'll pull this across here. So 10 times divide it, move, and I won't try to explain this until I put the blocks in there. So let's click into variables, pull out the length block, put that in there, and divide it by 10. Okay, so whatever length I have on the slider, it's going to divide it by 10 and do that 10 times. So if the length in here was 1, it would be better if I said if the length in here was 10. 10 divided by 10 would be 1. 1 times 10 would be 10. So it would just be 10. It'll become clear when we actually start seeing it in action. The next part after here is going to be the turn. So we have the amount of sides, but we need to have a way of relating this sides to the degrees, because remember we turned a certain number of degrees. So if I click in here, we have a turn block. Okay, this turn block, and previously we would have just put in a number there as to how many degrees we needed to turn, but now we're going to use this operator because it's going to be able to select its own number. So we'll stick that in there, and in the first side it's going to be 360, as in the 360 degrees of a circle, and in the second one it's going to be whatever's on the slider of sides. Okay, so we'll go into our variables and pull out sides. Okay, and so this whole block here is basically what I would have done previously: move a certain amount of steps and turn a certain amount of degrees, but now it's being dictated by these sliders, and I keep calling them sliders, but I actually haven't showed you how we turn these into sliders. So I'm going to pull this down here for a second, and this down here. If you right click on this, you get normal, large, or slider. So click on slider and you get this variable bar here. See, you get a slider. So right click on here and slider, and so I'm going to put the length down in the bottom right hand corner, and I'm going to put the sides in the bottom left hand corner. Now we can put this repeat 10 block in here, and so we're almost ready to actually try this system out. So the last thing we're going to need is, it's going to draw a shape depending on how many sides and depending on what length, and then after it's drawn, I want it to lift up the pen. I want it to lift up the pen, okay, and I want it to send the sprite out of the way. So that will be a go-to block. So we need our X and Y. So I'm going to send the sprite out of the way, and 130, 130, 130 and minus 130, actually 130 in the X. Okay, so that's far over to the right, or it's a good bit over to the right, and minus 130 in the Y. Okay, minus 130. Okay, so that'll get the sprite out of the way, and then we can stick in a stop all. Okay, because we're just done there now. Okay, so the code will have run. Okay, so if I run this now, it's set to 0 and 0. It shouldn't do anything. So it didn't do anything. So it did a dot. That's literally all it did. It threw a dot in there. So let's make it do a square. So a square has 4 sides. So if we grab a hold of this slider and slide it to 4. Okay, that was 2. 4. Go back to 3. Now it's going to 5. It's actually kind of difficult to get it to stay. Okay, so it's on 4 there now. And if I say length of 50, let's see what we make. So if I press the green flag now, and that's the size of the square that we get. Let's ramp that up to 100, and that's the square we get. So let's try this with a 5-sided shape. So if I pull this one more, if I can, there we go, it's on 5. So let's see what happens now. Here's our pentagon. Let's see if we can go one more. I'll just randomly pull her up there. There's an 8-sided shape. Okay. And there's our 8-sided shape. Let's go another one. Let's go to a 10-sided shape. Here we go. Okay, now we can do larger shapes, but if I pull it up to, say, a 14-sided shape, at this length it's going to be too big. So if we click on the green flag, and there it's not working because it's too big. So what we need to do is we need to make the length of the sides a bit shorter. So I'll put it down to, say, 30. Let's try that one. Okay, so that's 14. You can see it resembles a circle. Okay, it resembles a circle. Because that's basically what we're doing. We're getting closer and closer to a circle. So we've 14 sides and we've a length of 30, and so you can basically work out any size shape you want and any amount of sides you want by using this program. So I'll go big screen and we'll just do a quick demo. Again, we'll do we'll do a 6-sided shape, and we'll crank it back up to 100 for the size. And here we go one more time. Okay guys, so that was the last in the shapes of this How to Draw Shapes in Scratch series. The last video tomorrow is going to be a little special present for you all. It's a simple little program, and I hope you enjoyed this series. Remember to click like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.